is the Hammer Down Racing Report. And now your hosts, Scott Hammer and Ron Miller.
Welcome, race fans, to the Hammer Down Racing Report.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Show number 262, first show of 2023.
Wow.
Excuse me. It is the Hammer Down Racing Report for Thursday, January 5th. Forgot to update the date. I almost said December on there. Coming at you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter from the John Young Racing for First Responders, and Dave Kemmer Studio.
Oh, yeah.
Got some new studio sponsors this year. If you're interested in being a studio sponsor, just check out hammerdownracingreport.com. Whole sponsor section on there.
Really?
Yep. Tonight on the show, we were going to be speaking to
A whole bunch of people.
A whole bunch of people, yeah.
Yeah.
Dwayne and Elliot from the Dirt Nerds podcast, Zach and Rich from Horsepower Happenings. Unfortunately, Dwayne's father passed away this past weekend, so obviously Dwayne and Elliot a little preoccupied, so
Yes.
They will not be joining us. Zach and Rich were going to make it, but Zach's been fighting the flu, I guess. So
Scott,
we got Rich!
Yeah. Oh, we got Rich.
Yeah, so Rich fans should be joining us here shortly, and we'll go over the top stories of 2022. Also got some racing news from this past week. We have how many? We got the regular show stuff and a little bit of remodeling done as well. We got some new things we'll be sprinkling in. So there. Before we get to that, got to mention Big D's Pizza in Clyde. 419-547.
That wasn't another cancellation, was
No,
it? Okay.
that was not. That was
Okay.
that was me forgetting to do that. So, 419-547-1444. Order online at orderbigdspizza.com or follow on Facebook for the latest specials. Big D's in Clyde, big on taste, not on price. New special they just started this week. 10 jumbo chicken wings, choice of sauce, $8.99. I think that's cheaper than it was before. I thought it was like $1 more, but
And it's always reasonable.
absolutely. Yeah, give them a call right now, order, and you'll have your pizza probably by the time that we finish up the show this evening. Also, Freeze Frame Photos is back, and
For 2023.
correct. Got a message here from Rich. Yeah, he's having some issues here. Anyways, Freeze Frame Photos from Action Shots to Victory Lanes. They have new items, custom kids cups, some 20-ounce tumblers, water bottles, and more with Freeze Frame Photos, pictures that they've taken that they can put on there, along with some racing graphics. Pretty cool looking, customized.
And obviously, this time of year, calendars.
Yeah, those are still probably available.
I'll bet they are.
Don't mind me.
Scott's talking to our guest.
I'm producing and showing at the same time here. There we go. All right. So, that's it for Bills. I got to thank Oakshade Raceway, Ryan Miller Race Cars, and Headhunters Barber Studio and Salon as well. Before we get to our roundup, how about we our roundup of 2022? How about we do our racing roundup from this past couple weeks that we've been off? And we got these cool little things now. You ready for this?
I am.
Here we go.
Racing Roundup.
Brooks for hooking us up with her voice once again for all these fun little things. Sandusky Speedway, the Hangover race was this past weekend. Sunday.
I missed that.
Matter of fact, did you? You didn't finish at least. Scott Fowler picked up the win in the Champagne stock class. I heard that was his first race.
Yeah.
Like he was a snowmobile racer
Right.
or something. I wasn't sure how exactly that worked. And
He and my son Steve raced BMX together back about 100 years ago.
was he good?
Yeah.
All right, he's good in the race car. So I don't.
Well, that was a car that was originally built by Ron Miller Race Cars.
Oh, of course.
So it would be expected that he would look good.
Okay. Rich says it seems to be okay now, but I don't see him in our waiting room yet.
Okay.
I hope I sent him the right link. Yeah, we'll double check. But also, Terry Lynn Murphy picked up the win in the Moonshine stock.
And that was
feature
such a
event.
well-received win. Oh, my gosh.
Craig Dittman had that pretty much dominated the entire race. I guess he said he had a tire going down he could feel after that last caution.
Yeah.
And they got side by side there in the final lap, and coming out of the final corner, Craig lost control, hit the wall. Terry Lynn Murphy on the inside went and picked up the win.
She had been gaining on him every lap, had just a phenomenal run every lap off of turn 4, and that's what got her to the checkered flag.
Yeah, she did pretty good in the Champagne stock feature, too, finishing in second there. Mike Young was running in the whiskey stocks.
Right.
First time in that car. I was talking to him a little bit. He had a brand new car, I guess, new to the track.
Right.
I don't think he did as well as he would have liked, but picking up the win in the whiskey stock was Eric Johnson.
And I didn't talk to anybody, Scott, that didn't have a great time. I was very impressed with all the people in the grandstands. For a hangover race, it was very well attended.
Okay. Well, Rich says he's here, but I don't see him.
We'll turn his mic on. Let's see if we can hear him.
Well, he'd be. Oh, there he is. Okay, we're getting Rich. All right, we're getting that taken care of. I can see you now, Rich. So we're good. Tulsa Shootout. What was that? Week after Christmas there.
Right.
Got to go back a ways. All this stuff happened. In the Outlaw Micros, Emerson Axum picked up the win there. Former guests Anton Hernandez and Darren Nida made the trip down to Tulsa as well. Hernandez locked himself into the 600 Outlaw Winged Micro feature, and he ended up finishing 8th in the A-Main. Nida finished 5th in his A-Class Wing Micro qualifier.
Which is a pretty big
A
deal.
lot of, what was it, 1,600
Yes.
drivers there? Wow, incredible. Rumble at Fort Wayne last week as well. Friday, Mario Klauser won in the midgets. Cole Kirkman picked up the non-wing 600 micro win. John Ivey was the winner in the winged 600 micros. Saturday, it was Nick Hamilton in the midgets. Cap Henry finished second. I saw something just
All right.
recently. Cap's going to be running the Chili Bowl Nationals next week.
Really?
Just got a ride for that.
With the Kuntz team, maybe?
I don't know. It was not the Kuntz team. I don't
Okay.
remember the team it was.
I saw a photograph of the cars they're taking. That's going to take about a dozen haulers to get that fleet
But they're
there.
small. They're small. Cole Kirkman picked up his second wing and then the second win in the non-winged 600 micros, and Tyler Schulich picked up the win in the winged 600 micros. So without further ado, let's move on. Bring Rich into the fold here. How's it going?
Hey guys, long time no see. How are you?
Yeah, okay, good, Rich.
How you doing,
Glad
Ron?
You made it.
Yeah, I think Zach has decided he's going to just see how many viruses he can get in 1 year. He's had a rough year. He's been on and off sick, but somehow we haven't missed a show, so he's hanging in there.
You guys record on Horsepower Happenings on Mondays, right?
Yep.
Okay. So he was okay on Monday?
Yeah, we did the show on Monday, and it sounded like on Tuesday he just went downhill in a hurry.
Oh, boy.
Jeez.
There's a lot of that going around.
Well, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. We were going to have a nice little roundtable discussion like we did, what was it? How many years ago did we have everybody on?
Wasn't that last year we did that?
It seems longer than that. Maybe it was. I don't know. I meant to check that. I was like, But anyways, I kind of wanted to talk about 2022, kind of go around and talk about what you think some of the biggest racing stories were from last year. And before we do that, though, let's introduce Rich a little bit more here. You've got kind of a background. You do some announcing. You got the Horsepower Happenings podcast going on, kind of based up there in the southeast Michigan area.
Yep, I live about 10 minutes from Flat Rock Speedway, so it's easy to get to work in the summertime. You guys know I raced at Flat Rock in Toledo for 25 years, and you know what? At the end of 2014, Scott Schultz asked if I wanted to join Gary Lindahl. I said, "Are you kidding?" So we tried that, and me and Gary have been together ever since. And then I started working for a gentleman named Scott Menlin, who was just announced this week as the series director for Champion Racing Association. So congratulations to Scott.
Saw that.
Yep. And I've been working for him, and then I worked with the American Ethanol Tours, got into dirt, which I had never done before, and now I flat out love it. So I got to do some things I wasn't used to doing, and got put together with Zach and Horsepower Happenings, and then, gosh, we get to hang out with you guys sometimes, so that's pretty cool.
So will you be traveling with the CRA series?
Yeah, so it's not official, but the last 2 years, Zach and I have been the voices of Champion Racing Association for the JAG CRA All-Stars Tour and the ARCA CRA Super Series. We don't know everything. They just got the schedule announced. We're not 100% sure, but we have a feeling that we'll be splitting those duties up again this year as well.
Awesome.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. We get to travel. It just makes your season long. My season ended in the first week of December. It's Snowball Derby. So what's that tell you?
So when's your season start this year?
It might be in 3 weeks at Cordele, Georgia for the Speedfest 2023. So it's only 11 and a half months long.
Okay. And Horsepower Happenings, you're on all the major podcast platforms.
Absolutely. Anywhere you can find podcasts, we're on it. Yep, absolutely.
Dean Henry was asking, where do we find that show?
And a little bit about it and what time.
Yep. So our show goes off at 9:00 on Mondays. We're a radio podcast, so you don't get to see our ugly mugs at all.
It's probably better that way if we did that. So.
Yeah. No. Well, we know it is for us. So, and then we try to bring on, who's making news, who's in the news at the time, champions, stuff like that, and try to change it up. And then, it's really, as you guys know, it's really tough in the off season, but so we can't wait for the season to get going, because we can get a lot of cool guests on once the season gets going.
It's kind of a double-edged sword, though. During the off season, people have more time, but there's not really as much news out there. And then during the season, people are making news, but they're busy running races or whatever. I guess Monday nights are probably a better night, though, than a Thursday night where people are getting to the track or whatever for a long weekend.
Yeah, we seem to, Monday night seems to be okay. We record our interviews, and then we just kind of put the show together with everything that Zach and I do, and then it goes off at pretty close to 9:00 every Monday night. So seems to work out for us. Every once in a while, we have to change to a Tuesday or bounce back and forth. But we're starting our 4th season in February, so we're looking forward to it.
Awesome, very cool. So what in your opinion, what would you say was the biggest story to come out of 2022?
Oh, locally or nationally?
Pick one.
Pick one, yeah. Both, but pick one to start with. Let's
start locally.
Okay.
I think probably what was impressive to me was this year was Eric Spangler. Eric Spangler won a couple championships, picked up a $34,000 win at Woodtick. And, I was at Woodtick. I was there in Victory Lane when he showed up. And, he had to hold off Ryan Unzicker and Devin Moran for that win on a few inside 10 lap to go restarts, and he just kept driving away from him each time. So I got to think locally. I think that not that Eric Spangler isn't a great driver, because he's a Hall of Famer in his own right when he decides he's going to, hang up the helmet. But I just thought that was awfully impressive what he did this year.
Well, and Spanky did it in kind of a non-traditional way in fields full of rockets and just a lot of really named cars. He did in a master built that very few racers have been using, and had as you say, a spectacular season.
Yeah, when you show up to the racetrack, that All-Star Performance Late Model Challenge Series that Mike Blackmare puts on. When you're showing up, and who do you get to look at every night? You get Chad Finley and Cody Bauer and Dono Marcoolier and Travis Stemler. You want to look at that in a race? I wouldn't want to have to fight that every night.
No, and the upstate Michigan tracks have really put together some great schedules and some outstanding purses. So, there's a lot to showcase up there.
And late in the season, Eric picked up his first feature win at Oakshade.
Yeah, and I think this year he went down to Illinois and picked up a win this year
Right.
as well. So I don't think Eric Spangler could have had could have envisioned having the year he had. But I think locally you got to put him right up there at the top.
I'm making a note now. Maybe a potential off-season guest here. We'll have to get Spangler on to find out what he's going to be doing next season. Did you guys talk to him this year?
I talked to him. I talked to him right after, in Victory Lane. I interviewed him because they had this year was pretty cool. They had the wood tick on Flow Racing. So my job was Victory Lane for the wood tick. So I had fun down there, and he was pretty happy.
Awesome. Well, Ron, what do you think locally the biggest story was 2022?
I think probably the biggest story from a racer's standpoint were the track conditions at virtually every track, Scott. And I know Mother Nature played into that, but boy, the wet spring season, it just seemed as though most of the dirt tracks never got over that. And still with the dirt tracks, the fan attendance was good. The car counts were great.
It seems like since, I don't know, Rich, if you've noticed this, but since the pandemic, once crowds were allowed back at local tracks, it seems like the crowds have been pretty healthy, at least
Right.
compared to pre-pandemic times.
Yeah, well, we noticed.
During.
Yeah, we noticed it a little bit, to be honest, at Flat Rock, just because Flat Rock wasn't able to open in 2020 at all. So, and they started slowly coming back. It's kind of like dip your toe in the water and see if it's still nice after not being there in so long. But this year wasn't too bad. There were a couple nights where it was a little slow where there's other things going on in the area. I'm sure you guys have that deal, with all the stuff Toledo's got going on now. We have that up here too. But for the most part, we had some pretty good events and some pretty full grandstands. It was pretty
Rich,
cool.
that was one of the things that the pandemic created that really concerned me, was that maybe the crowds would be slow to come back if they ever did come back.
Yeah, it was. I remember right at the end of the year of 2020, Toledo received approval to open up for 4 events, and they squeezed in the Glass City 200, and I couldn't believe all the people that were there.
Right.
And and Toledo didn't have a race all year. Well, they had a couple of races, but they were no fans, and they were ARCA Menard Series events.
Right.
So those were the only events they had held all year. So when local racing came back, I was very surprised and happy to see that they hadn't forgot about the place throughout the summer.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Scott?
Biggest story to me this year was
short track, local.
sort of local. Local ties was Rick Eshelman making
that was a stunner.
the Hall of Fame, and then the stunning news back that was the beginning of October, where he was missing, and then
And Rick was close to all 3 of us, so yeah.
so that had the most impact, at least personally.
Yeah, that was one of my national stories, because Rick wasn't local. Rick was national. We all know that. Rick was worldwide. Anybody who liked anybody who loved World of Outlaws, if you knew anything about it, you knew Rick Eshelman. And I was proud to call him a friend. It was pretty devastating for all of us, I think. But it's pretty cool. I don't know if you guys knew, but Rick is going to be honored at the Michigan Auto Racing Fan Club banquet here in a couple weeks with the Vito LaPiccolo Lifetime Achievement Award, and his son Derek is going to come and accept for him. So I think that is really cool.
Well, and obviously the 3 of us knew Rick for long time.
Yeah. I consider him local because that's how I met him, working at Mill Street Speedway in the late 90s, and then kind of getting the Oakshade deal because of him, and going to one of his weddings at Toledo Speedway and having the reception in the Speedway bar.
Yeah.
Rick was an interesting fellow.
Having built a race car for him back in his early days of announcing but wanting to dabble in driving. And I know some other guys that do that.
Yeah, and I got to ironically, not knowing, right, I got to spend a couple days with Rick, I believe it was in August, when the Hell Tour came. He wasn't announcing, but he was just working with the Hell Tour, and I went to Butler and Tri-City and spent a couple nights with him, and because I hadn't seen him in quite a while. He doesn't plant his feet in one place too often, and it's hard to catch up with him. But we were able to spend a couple days together, and unfortunately, a month or so later, he wasn't with us anymore. So I'll always remember those 2 days with him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, he would pop in, and I'd see him at Oakshade. He'd stop in on an off weekend from the World of Outlaws where he wasn't announcing, and just kind of hang out at the track and go down, eat a kraut dog or or 2 or 3 or whatever. So
Whatever he could promote.
yeah,
He probably never paid for one.
well, that's all right though.
Yeah.
He earned them. So what that's your think is the biggest national story then for last year?
Well, I thought I think that was pretty cool, but I think the biggest one, and I have to go onto my pavement roots, has to be Ross Chastain.
Absolutely.
And because we'll never see that again, I don't think, right, Ron? I don't believe so.
I don't believe it'll ever happen.
No, but I watched the week after at Phoenix, thinking, is he going to do it again? And no.
No, I think NASCAR will do everything they can to discourage that. And that may be the only track on the entire tour that
That is feasible.
Yeah. Where it could work.
Yeah, and you couldn't do it on a short track here because the light bodies, you just peel them all off.
Right.
So it had to be something to do with that new car to where it held together, because if you'd had any, I don't care if you have a street stock, a Sportsman around here, you try that here, you're going to just peel the whole body off right through the corners. So no, I thought, and part of it was just the visual of it. I mean, I think when we all first saw it, we didn't believe it. We thought,
see.
Yeah,
well, we thought it was on Fast Forward or something, right? Oh,
absolutely.
and it wasn't. That's the way it was. So I think nationally on track, I think that was probably the biggest moment of 2022. I thought it pretty cool and pretty amazing, and I thought everybody else thought the same thing.
Rich, I've got to tell you, that was not a spur of the moment thing. He had spent a lot of time during that race studying the wall.
Do you think that he
to see if?
Do you think he would even imagine before the race that was an option, or was that something he formulated during the race?
He certainly did it during the race. He knew what he had to do that day.
Because of the circumstances he was in
and
at the end of the race.
he was thinking, what can I do to make this happen? Oh, yeah, the wall thing.
Well, I don't think he ever knew. I don't think I'm sure he probably thought about it. And I think in an interview, I thought I heard him say he tried it on an iRacing once and it worked. But I think that's a whole lot different than being in your race car. And I don't think from the time he first hit the wall going into turn 3, he knew it was going to work until he came out of turn 4.
I believe he studied the wall during the race and said, if I have to, this might work. It's a hero move.
Ron, you know better than I do. Race car drivers aren't that smart.
Now, do you think this would have been as big of a story had that move not worked? I mean, had he made it but still did not gain the positions he needed to get into the championship, do you think this would have been as big of a story?
It was a fairy tale ending. There's no question.
I think it would have been a big story still just because of the move. You would have had the asterisk, but he didn't make it into the chase. But it was still something unbelievable that, the only way you're going to ever see it is go back and watch the video, because I don't think you're going to ever see it again.
Agreed. And that was actually what I was picking for my national story. That was the biggest one from this past year. I mean, there's quite a few, but that one obviously sticks out for quite a few reasons.
Scott, my biggest story of the year, and we talked a little bit about it before we went on, was the failures of the next gen car. The fact that if you get a flat tire, it's got to go on a tow truck to go back to the pits. But if you go on a tow truck, you're out of the race.
What about the injuries associated with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Cars backing into the wall?
Right. You know, there's a couple of guys with concussion protocols because of that. The cars catching on fire. Kevin Harvick, you know, never one to be outspoken, had some issues with the cars catching on fire and his feeling that there were crappy parts involved.
Yeah, what do you think of the next gen car that Cup was using this year?
I try not to watch much NASCAR. I haven't grasped it. I think they have a lot of work to do. I'm an old guy like Ron, right? I'm old school. I like 5 lug nuts and make guys go down there and, you know, make it part of racing. I mean, now it's almost like Indy cars, 1 lug off, 1 lug on. What are they going to do? Get rid of the Jackman next and just plug in the cars and let them jack up?
Oh, they're looking at that.
Yeah.
They've explored that technology.
Is that under the guise of it being a safety issue?
Yes. Fewer men across the wall.
It looks so good though when 7 or 8 guys were flying across the wall in the old days, and you know, and the best crew won. Best crew made it out. You know, I mean, it was part of the race when I was growing up.
It was the Wood brothers that brought that.
Yep.
We're not just old guys that don't like change. That's not what this is, right?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't mind change as long as it's change that makes the product better. And I think they totally failed with the next gen car.
Okay. One other big story, NASCAR related, and this is the last NASCAR related one, was what do you guys think of them making decisions for last year and on the schedule for this year of going to some different venues, like doing the race at the LA Memorial Coliseum, going to the streets of Chicago next year. What else was there?
Weren't they doing a street race in Detroit too?
I don't think so.
I know they had explored that. Maybe
Detroit,
it's not on the schedule.
Detroit's the IndyCar is going back downtown from Belle Isle, but also NASCAR doing the All-Star race this year, deciding to do that at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, I like the All-Star race change. That doesn't bother me getting it away from Charlotte. But you know, I was probably one of the ones in the minority. I talked to so many people and they just loved the Coliseum last year, and I just never bought into it.
I was okay with the Coliseum, but the music part of it, I didn't.
Well, and I was so concerned.
You seem to like it for some reason.
I did, but my concern was that, hey, this is going to be cool. Let's do an intermission during every race and have some rock band or country band or whatever the band du jour is during an intermission.
Yeah, it was evident that they had a target audience for that event, and it was not the fans they already had.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Well, and they wouldn't have had it in the LA Coliseum if they were playing to their base.
But some of the racing was okay. I mean, a lot of contact, that's for sure.
A lot more than the racing was.
The track's about the size of this room.
Yeah. Yeah, the racing was a little better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
but I guess if you like the entertainment factor, then it was for you. You know, if you like the nice tight racing, just that portion of it, then maybe you liked it. But I think the whole package just didn't do it for me.
It was more of
we'll start 35 cars on the little track at Toledo.
Well, I don't. I don't know that they'll have to worry about that ever again. We'll have to see. They might this year. They might have to consider that this year at the Glass City 200 for the ASA Stars National Tour when it shows up there. Because I think there's going to be quite a few cars that are going to show up for that event. But we'll have to, I don't know that you're going to ever start 35 cars at even on the big track at Toledo or ever again.
But that's what the Coliseum race was.
Yeah,
it wasn't that many, but yeah, I think they're going 27 this year. I got some news on that. But moving away from NASCAR, Jonathan Davenport was a big story last year. Late model driver winning
who is now a millionaire.
millions of dollars in wins last year. He won the Eldora Million. I mean, what a season that guy had.
Yeah, and that was my number one on track that I had picked event. One of them of 2022. I just don't. How many races did he win? Big money races this year. It was like every time. And what, the last one to win $1 million was Donnie Moran? Am I correct? Down at Eldora?
Right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Is that right? So
Yes.
that was before I was into dirt racing. But no, about everywhere he went, he won. And every big event that he showed up at, it was him. I don't know if anybody had that dominant of a season like he had in 2022.
He was like the Kyle Larson of 2021,
Right.
except in dirt late models, except for when Kyle Larson raced him.
And Carl Larson's going to win in anything.
Speaking of Kyle Larson, that was a good transition there. What do you guys think about him and Brad Sweet doing this high limit sprint car series next year?
I watched a little. They the end of this year they did a couple races, right, or one race.
Yeah,
I thought they did it. I watched that night. I think it might be okay. It gives it gives Kyle Larson a reason to get to a racetrack all the time, more racetracks, right?
Yeah.
But it seems, but you know what? If you're putting up the money for that group of race cars, let them come. I mean, what are they going to bring? 40, 50, 60 race cars on those events I think they had. I think it's going to be great. I have no problem with it. Anything that expands our sport and makes it better, I'm for it.
And those are supposed to be midweek shows, so they're
Right.
not, kind of in competition with some of the big weekend
Well,
shows.
we've been talking about big money shows and getting away from the greatness of 22. What do you think about the $1 million to win race at Eldora being for sprint cars?
I think it's what's good for late models is good for sprint cars, right?
Well,
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you always heard of all the money being thrown around sprint cars and how much money Brad Sweet's won, right? Now Jonathan Davenport pops off $1 million. Why not for sprint cars? Why not? They'll have 100 cars there at least, if not more.
120 maybe?
Yeah, probably, Ron.
Scott, did you have the final number? I thought that Davenport was closing in on $3 million total winnings for the year.
I think it was in the 2 million something range. I don't know off the top of my head on that, but yeah, that's a lot of money. And one of the things I guess I understand it, but I didn't really like it was Kyle Larson's comment about not running Chili Bowl this year. Well, and part of the reason him doing this high limit thing was for high paying races during the week was because the Chili Bowl doesn't pay enough. And he's a former champion of it. What is it, 5,000 to win, I think? Maybe 10,000.
You ought to try going to the hangover race at Sandusky Speedway.
Yeah, so which, Dean says Davenport made $2.5 million, so yeah.
I thought he was closing in at 3.
He's got enough money. He can buy some more race cars.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest surprises too was, after 2021 when Brandon Overton was winning everything and was collecting all the big checks, you thought that he was going to have a shot and he was going to roll in a bunch of money in 2022. Well, lo and behold, Jonathan Davenport makes 2021 look like chump change to Brandon Overton,
Well, and Overton didn't have a horrible year in 22.
Mm-mm.
No, but he didn't win the big races that he did in 21, Ron.
Right, right.
So will there be a late model driver that will be able to earn, maybe even match what Davenport did this past year, this year without the Eldora Million for a late model driver?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Probably not. A lot of guys changing seats this year. Do you notice that?
Oh, boy.
Jimmy Owens has a new ride. Devin Moran has a new ride. We'll have to see. These guys haven't even taken their first laps in cars yet.
Scott, the pavement guy's really getting pretty tuned in on dirt racing.
I know. What have you heard about Nick Hoffman?
Yeah. So what was that? See, now I remember reading about it and not.
Well, he was involved in that crash
Right.
with his hauler and hurt. They knocked out what the end of August, beginning of
Right.
September. Had to sit out for a few months, and he's going to be. He's got the Devin Moran's old ride, the Ty Torrig late model that he's going to be running this year.
Yeah, and he's gonna. And I think what I read, he's gonna run for the World of Outlaws Championship or Rookie of the Year.
Or Rookie of the
Right.
Year, I think at least. But
Yep.
And his engineering ability can only help that team.
yeah. I mean, he's
We had a conversation about this a week ago and said, is a championship like the World of Outlaws or Lucas Oil, is that as big as it used to be? And I said, it probably isn't, because you're only having, what I've seen is 4 or 5 cars running every race. So, if those 5 guys show up, you're probably going to finish in the top 5 in the championship. And all the rest of the field are fillers depending where the race is. Not guys that, and guys that can win, but they're not following the whole tour.
What do you think
or whole
about
series.
the Lucas Oil Series next year going to a format like the playoffs that NASCAR has?
I was never a playoff fan to begin with. If we had playoffs back in my day, if they did it on our short tracks, I probably would have had a chance at 4 or 5 championships. But without a playoff, I made sure I was fully excluded from that talk every year. So, but I'm not a big playoff fan. I like let's race to the end, and whoever has the more points is the champ.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Last story that I have on my list here was the Hoosier tire shortage, which kind of was had more of an impact the first part of the year and kind of less toward the end of the year.
Yeah. It played out a lot all year, but
Yeah, but you didn't hear as much about it toward the end of the season.
well, and the pavement guys got used to racing with half a set of tires, and the dirt guys were buffing and grinding and making tires last a little longer. It wasn't that the shortage got better; people just learned how to deal with it.
And I think I had some dirt friends, and it seemed to me, guys, that their biggest deal was the price of diesel fuel. They found a way to find tires. You're a dirt late model driver, you're going to find tires somewhere, and they always seem to have tires. But I think they limited the races they were going to run. We were talking. We had Cody Bauer on the show after he won that race at Gateway in the Dome, and he said we only ran about 25 races, and those guys run, and he ran the Challenge Series events up north, and then went out of state a couple times, but he didn't run that much. So when normally dirt late model guys are running 45 to 60 times or more,
Mm-hmm.
And they just chose not to do that, and I believe it was because of the costs of getting up and down the road.
I think I remember those days.
Even some of the late model drivers we had on at the end of last year on the show, where we would ask them what their plans are for next year, and a lot of them were like, if we can't afford to travel away, we may stay local. We want to, travel, but the cost of fuel is prohibitive.
Is that going to play back into it this year? Because I don't know if you've noticed, fuel prices are creeping back up, and I keep hearing that fuel prices are going to get back to last summer's prices again this year.
I'm just glad my 2022 pickup truck that I just got runs on regular gas, regular unleaded. I don't have a diesel, so I'm not crying, because I'm pretty happy from where unleaded fuel where it is now compared to what it was 6 months ago.
Rich, I was hoping that you weren't going to say your 2022 truck just got plugged in.
That's what.
Oh no, he didn't.
No. I will not buy a truck where the batteries cost more than the truck.
Yeah.
Electric car racing, though, it's coming.
You believe that? You really believe that?
I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I don't know. I mean, unless there's an alternative, what can we do? What's the other thing? Hydrogen something?
It just isn't the same going. I mean, when I grew up going to the racetracks and all the years, it was, the smell of the rubber and the rear end dope and the oil and the fuel and stuff like that, and going to the racetrack and saying, smelling rubber and toxic acid doesn't seem exciting to me.
No.
And watching a car pull up to the high side of the track so his batteries recharge.
Yeah, I don't
Have
think
a
that's ever.
charging lane.
I'd be very surprised if that happens in our lifetime.
Oh, the charging's when you hit the brakes or let off the gas. I'm not sure how that works.
Everything I've read says that the top lane will be a charging lane where the cars can actually.
Oh, like wireless charging?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant going up, parking, and plugging in or something.
No.
All right. Well, anyway, any other stories we missed, Rich? You think?
Not really. I mean, I thought there was a couple more locally. I thought it was pretty cool here, just because I can play homer. I thought it was pretty cool. Eric Lee picking up his 6th championship at Flat Rock Speedway. There aren't many guys that have that many championships, much less in a late model. And Eric Lee was able to do it 2 years in a row and picked up number 6. I thought that was pretty cool. And Evan Shotko up at Berlin picked up his first super late model championship up at Berlin, and picked up his first ever Battle at Berlin 150. So, and picked up that $20,000 win. So I thought those were pretty cool on the pavement side.
SRX series is coming to Berlin, I believe, next year.
Yes, that's what I hear.
What do you think of that series?
I've watched it a couple times. I didn't watch it every week, but I don't know. Those cars. They're a little different for me, and some of the guys that are in them surely don't know how to drive them. That's for sure.
Any name in particular?
No, we'll just leave it at that. But no, they're there to put on a show for the fans, and that's exactly what they do. I mean, everywhere they go, they fill the grandstand, so it's great for the racetracks. So I think it's fine in that aspect.
Cool.
Just don't take it too seriously. It's entertainment.
Well, it's like the IROC series, kind of. Probably maybe a little less serious, but yeah, because the IROC series, they featured drivers that were still, running NASCAR, IndyCar, whatever, where the SRX is more
retired.
Yes. Washed up was the only word that was coming to my head, and I didn't think that was the proper terminology. So,
last year I think they had events where a current driver could qualify in to race at an event that they would on a track that they would normally race at. So, they did that a few times where they had one guy, one current young driver in there.
Yeah, they had, like each track, I think they had like a local guy. Their rigger, right. They called it. So
yeah.
But anyway, Rich, we appreciate the time and thank you for sticking through everything that was going on and being able to come on here tonight again. You want to promote Horsepower Happenings here before we let you go?
Yep, every Monday night, 9:00. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we're on. And just follow us, and you can follow us on our Facebook page, Horsepower Happenings. Also, from Zach and I, we want to send our prayers out to the Hancock family, Dwayne and his family. I heard his father passed away this weekend, so bummer Dwayne and Elliot couldn't join us tonight, but our prayers go out to Dwayne and his family.
Well, it's going to be a long winter. Maybe we can squeeze them in somewhere.
Yeah, like you said, this is the off season, always looking for show ideas, so we may give it another try.
Absolutely.
You never know. Hopefully we'll see you out at Oakshade again sometime.
Yeah, you guys
in person that one time.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I guess they you guys did a Hell Tour race this year, right?
Yes.
Every
that's
year.
What I saw. Okay, and that's the I'm still learning this, but that is the night of the birthday race, right?
Right.
Correct.
And next year we are the penultimate
second to last race. Yeah. It's a Saturday in the middle of July. I don't remember the exact.
Yeah, because they're going to Hartford and Butler and Hartford first. Is that what they're doing? And then coming down to Oakshade.
Oakshade, right. And then I think Wayne County is the final one on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you guys for sure. Absolutely.
All right, man. Looking forward to it. Thanks again for coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Rich France, thank you.
We'll see ya. There you go. Well, how come I'm so big and you're tiny now?
I don't know.
It's crazy. So again,
you got the control of the keyboard.
Again, thanks to Rich France. We wanted to have Dwayne and Elliot from Dirt Nerds podcast as well. We were going to kind of do what we did before, but like Rich said, unfortunately, Dwayne's father passed away this week, so kind of low on Dwayne's priority list. And we know how busy Dwayne is.
Right.
I mean, he's got so much going on with the AFCS and everything he does for racing. So I'm sure we'll talk to him again here.
Did you see Chris Mai's comment about electric cars racing at Mansfield?
It sucked, no noise took away.
I can believe that.
6 colleges had electric type Indy cars. Interesting. Were there fans there? I'd be curious about that. Or was this just like an exhibition as part of a regular night of racing? That would be my question. Thanks to Oakshade Raceway. Speaking of that, we're the fastest meet to race, oakshaderaceway.com. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Keep checking back for that 2023 race schedule.
I would wager that the opening night will be the last Saturday in April.
Boom. There it is. And Ron Miller Race Cars. Give Ron a call, 734-856-7223. Race cars, parts, safety equipment. Your belts expire. Need a new harness.
I had new belts in for the hangover race.
Did you?
I was afraid they were going to check my belts. And
speaking of the hangover race, what happened to you in that race that allowed me to finish ahead of you, by the way? I just want to point that out. I think I passed you on the track even.
Yeah, with a flat right front tire. Scott, the car was okay. We had that caution about the midpoint, and then it had a wicked push. I ran one lap after we went green, and it was undrivable, and right front tire was down.
So that's your excuse? That's why I passed you?
Yeah.
All right. I'll accept
I
that.
haven't looked at that tire, see if I got some debris, because there definitely was some of that during the day.
Yeah, I was a little worried that my tires wouldn't last because I was running both classes,
Right.
the moonshine and the
And
champagne.
they did fine.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they were fine. Last year, the track was dry, and they were destroyed.
Well, and the track had every opportunity to be dry, but I think with all the rain we had early, there were weepers that just kept the track a little bit wet, which played right into the dirt guys because they were used to going sideways a little.
And I appreciate it.
Latest racing news.
News here, former guest Cole Macedo made the trip to Australia, a good one for him.
Yeah.
He picked up the feature victory at Tasmania, day after Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So congratulations.
That's a little
to him.
island down on the southern tip of Australia.
Do they have devils there? Tasmanian devils. James McFadden, Brad Sweet, Carson Macedo, Brock Zierfoss, and Sheldon Hodenshield also making the trip down under to compete against the Australians. They will be racing at different tracks, but will all end up concluding their trip at the 50th Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic, which I guess is Australia's version of the Knoxville Nationals. That'll be at Premier Speedway, January 27th through the 29th.
Premier Speedway. I know it's been renamed, but I don't remember what city it's in. Should.
Hoosier Racing Tire announced, we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago, but
Right.
now it's official. They've announced the introduction of the newly designed rear drive tires for sprint car dirt racing in 2023. The new rear tires feature an updated symmetrical tread pattern design and profile, allowing competitors to rotate tires and extend use and longevity compared to the current tires that have been in use for over 25 years. For wing sprint cars such as the 360s, 410s, 358s, one style left rear tire will be produced moving forward. The open competition RD12 left rear and Spec H12 left rear will be consolidated into one offering featuring a hybrid construction between the two previous tires and a modified tread pattern on both shoulders to reduce blistering and chunking. There will be a quiz at the end of this, so take notes.
Nobody likes chunking.
The new left rear tire will be designated as a D12A. The new right rear will be offered in two compounds and will be designated as D15A and medium. The D15A will replace the current H15 and will feature a slightly firmer tread compound. The medium compound will remain the same. The front tire offerings will remain the same and unchanged for 2023. So
Hoosier is doing everything they can to simplify their manufacturing process.
do you think that's going to help with the tire shortage?
Yeah,
Help
I
alleviate
really
that?
do. I really do.
Okay. The second Busch Light Clash will boost an increased field as the February 5th race at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum will now hold 27 cars instead of 23 entries that were featured during last year's inaugural running. Eligibility for the one-of-a-kind stadium race includes all 2023 NASCAR Cup Series charter team owners and Associated Cup drivers. This year, NASCAR Cup Series Open team owners and Associated Cup drivers are eligible to enter and compete for the 4 additional starting positions in this year's field. The format of the upcoming Clash at the Coliseum is largely unchanged. There will be qualifying, heat races, and last chance qualifiers to determine the lineup for the Clash.
And an intermission halfway.
With somebody singing
I'm betting.
or lip syncing, whatever. You said you didn't see this. I was watching the Tulsa shootout last week. I don't know why it seems like so long ago. It seems like 2 weeks ago. But Terry Maddox, the flagger for the Tulsa shootout and the Chili Bowl Nationals, was hit by a car that slipped off the final corner while he was waving the checkered flag on Thursday morning. And if you don't know, haven't watched the Chili Bowl Nationals or the Tulsa shootout, the flagger stands down there in the infield and kind of steps out onto the track.
Old time racing.
Yeah. So here's what happened. So the car got loose coming off of 4 and kind of went down to the inside and got into Maddox there. He tried to move out of the way, slipped, and he ended up getting stitches in his right leg, but suffered no broken bones.
That was amazing. It really was.
Thunderbird Raceway in Muskegon, Michigan has been purchased back by Tom Sprague.
Ooh.
Sprague purchased the track so his friends Jeff and Heidi Morell would have a chance to live out their dreams of running a racetrack. I've never heard somebody that was their dream, was to run a racetrack. From all the horror stories I've heard of
like
running a
nightmare,
racetrack.
right?
Yeah, but well, hopefully it is a dream. It was an easy decision for Michael Blackmer as he found out how hard it is to run 3 tracks at the same time. Because he was running Tri-City, Merritt, and Thunderbird all up there in Michigan, trying to do all 3. He's going to concentrate everything he's doing. Let me rephrase it. He's going to concentrate on doing huge things at Tri-City Motor Speedway and Merritt Speedway this year. And finally, rally racing icon Ken Block, who was 55, died in a snowmobile accident in Utah on Monday. So,
just a whole lot of that death thing going on lately.
Yes. Crud. I meant to ask Rich this. So we had a Hammer Down hotline
Really?
text. Yeah. If you'd like to leave us a message on the Hammer Down hotline, something you want us to discuss, feel free to call or text anytime. This number right here, 419-318-3081. It's 419-318-3081. We had a text that came in that wanted to know, in everyone's travels to different tracks, which track has the best food?
Ooh.
What do you think?
Well, I didn't travel much this year.
Well, but you've been to many different tracks, so.
You know, the burgers at Oakshade are really, really good.
You might be a little biased, too.
They're really good.
Okay. I'm kind of fond of the hot dogs at Oakshade. But I'm also fond of going to Sandusky because, not necessarily because of the track food. Not that the track food's bad at Sandusky, but there's a Fazoli's in Sandusky, and I love going to Fazoli's. So.
Well, that doesn't count as track food, Scott.
But it's kind of related because it's like, all right, it's New Year's Day. I'm going to Sandusky for the hangover race, and I'm going to go to Fazoli's afterwards. Woo!
So you got your fill of Italian.
I did. I always bring home extra breadsticks, and my kid eats them. So, it was all good. But
I'd like a dozen breadsticks to go, please.
yeah, the hot dogs at Oakshade. I mean, I'm always scarfing down those. What does everybody think in the comments? Leave your comments of what track and what food you think has the best.
Yeah.
What food it is, which track you think has the best food. What the hell, Scott? I know. I should have went to Big D's instead.
I can't think of any track that has Big D's pizza. Otherwise, that'd be right up there.
I agree.
Yeah.
Big D's should be served at Sandusky Speedway, Fremont Speedway.
Especially on New Year's Day.
I agree.
I'd have to quit bringing food if Big D's was going to be at Sandusky for the hangover.
I probably would have skipped out on Fazoli's if Big D's was there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That'd be a big sacrifice.
Big D's was open. Great, Chris. Give me more trouble. Dean says Eldora was his favorite. Chris Rattan says the Big O Burger at Oakshade. So you got some support there. So there you go. Moving on. How about we move on to give away some Big D's pizza, as a matter of fact. Let's do that.
How many?
How many?
Yeah. So last week's how many, or actually was a couple weeks, was how many total cars were going to be at the hangover race at Sandusky Speedway on January 1st. Guess how many cars they had? They had quite a few cars.
I was impressed. I was really pleased with the number of fans in the grandstand.
I noticed that too. It was like there was a lot of people in the stands compared to
considering
normal.
it's the middle of winter and a little drizzly. It wasn't a perfect day, but yeah. I liked it. I was very pleased.
Okay. Well, there was 38 cars total
Really?
among the three classes.
Uh-huh.
I think the Moonshine had the most, which is odd
Yeah.
because I think there was 14 because we had 2 heats of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, usually there's sometimes like 8 to 10. So
How about the front-wheel drive cars? It seemed like
front-wheel drives, I think there was I don't remember.
I thought there were.
Wait, I took a picture of your phone with the lineups, and that's how I counted all of
Okay,
it. So
yeah.
I got the picture here. I can tell you exactly how many there were.
I could probably do that too.
You probably could because the picture is from your phone. They had 7 and 6, so they had 13 cars. There was
Okay.
one less in the whiskey stock, and then the champagne stock had 6 and 5.
That'd be
So
11.
you had 11, yeah. So that totals out to 38.
Ooh.
That's the total number. You picked 35, your car number, which was a pretty good guess because I guessed 34. So you were closest.
I win.
Our listener winner picked 39, one off. That was Doug Frost.
Ooh.
So congratulations to Doug Frost. He's got a Big D's pizza. You got 30 days to claim your pizza. Get a hold of Dean Henry, Big D's, or myself, and we'll get you all squared away there. So this week's how many and a chance to win a Big D's pizza. What's going to be the total flip count from the Chili Bowl Nationals next week?
Ooh, boy.
The Tulsa shootout was well over 100, which was the week between Christmas and New Year's. So, and I want to say it's been like 60s, but that seems low almost because it's like a whole week.
Do we want to tell everybody why we're doing a flip count on a race that goes into next weekend?
Sure. Why?
Are we going to be here next Thursday?
Oh, no. Is that, yeah, that's why we're not, I see what you're getting at. I was totally lost on that one. No, we'll talk about that in a minute. But
Yeah.
total flip count for next week's Chili Bowl Nationals. Some guesses already coming in. If you want to get your guess in, just put your number guess in the comments of our Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Whoever's closest will win a Big D's pizza. And, so, and that's through the entire Chili Bowl Nationals.
Right.
And like Ron said, we unfortunately, there will be no show next week because I was going to ask Scott if yours was better. I heard him, so he wouldn't know. Oh, our breadsticks is better than Fazoli's. I don't know that I've had the breadsticks. Have I? I've had the pizza boat, the cheese boat.
Yeah.
Garlic bread with cheese, which that is, nothing beats that. That is phenomenal from Big D's. I don't know that I've had the breadsticks, though. I think I'm going to have that. Anyway, sorry, a little ADD, getting distracted here by the food. Put your comments in the Facebook Live or YouTube Live as far as the number of flips you think it's going to be. And that's going all the way through the end of Chili Bowl Nationals, which is what? I think it starts Monday through Saturday.
Yes.
So that's all of it. So there's no show next week, next Thursday. We'll tell you why here in a little bit. So you have until, I'm going to say until Monday morning at 10 a.m. to get your guess in.
Sounds good.
And it's for the whole week of the Chili Bowl Nationals as far as flips. So how many flips do you think it's going to be?
You know, last week 35 was really good to me.
That seems awfully low.
So I'm going with 135.
Okay, unless you put a 1 in front of it. All right, Ryan's going with 135. I'm going to go, see, Doug, our winner this week, he's picking 71. And I think that might be closer.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go with Chris Mize and go 132. So that way, if it is 71, I'm a lot closer than you. So there you go. You have until Monday if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, whatever. You just punch up our Facebook page and find the Facebook Live. Put your guess in. You have until Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Now we'll make it Central Time since the Chili Bowl Nationals is over in Central Time Zone in Oklahoma. So there you go. No Big D's Pizza Racing menu this weekend, other than you got Chili Bowl Nationals coming up.
A week from now.
No, it starts Monday.
Okay.
And then tomorrow is, what is it, the Wild West Shootout?
In
Vado. Yeah. I think Rusty Schlank's out there for that.
He is.
So. Nothing locally, but the weather's not supposed to actually be too bad the next couple of weeks around here. Not quite racing weather, but we'll take it.
Certainly for winter, it's tolerable.
Yeah, we could have more hangover races. Weekly hangover race series.
Yeah.
Thanks to associate producer Dave Cameron, contributors Matt Swander, John Young, Doug Dock, and Bob Stazak. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Hammer Report, follow us on YouTube, listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform. Check us out on HammerdownRacingReport.com. Become a sponsor. Sponsorship info is on there. Make sure to rate and review us as well. Share us with your friends. We peaked at 150 in the U.S. on the Apple Podcast charts for Leisure Auto category.
Right.
And at the same time, we were 160 on that same category in Australia. So our American audience is stepping up.
Well, and sometime in the next few weeks, we're going to have Veronica McCann on from Australia. And that's going to just really boost our numbers over
in Australia. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks to our sponsors, Big D's Pizza, Oakshade Raceway, Ron Miller Race Cars, Freeze Frame Photos, Headhunters, Barber Studio, and Salon. Again, if you're interested in being a sponsor of the show, send us a message or call the Hammerdown hotline, 419-318-3081. Thanks to this week's guest, which was guests, but Rich for showing up there from Horsepower Happenings. Appreciate him.
We're getting questions why we won't be on next week.
I'll be in an airplane. I got to travel for business next week, so we decided to, instead of trying to force a show, we're gonna.
Scott's airplane won't land in Detroit until a projected
quarter after 7.
Then he's going to have to clear baggage and everything else. He
and drive back to Toledo.
Wouldn't be home before 9:30, and you folks are in bed by then.
Yeah, I thought about maybe doing it on Friday or something, but it's just too much effort to try and squeeze in the night, especially since I got a business trip and I'm going to be elsewhere anyways. That
can't do your homework.
Yeah. So it's just going to be easier. We'll be back, and then weekly, starting in 2 weeks, Thursday night, 7 o'clock again. So apologies.
But don't forget about us. We're just taking a week off.
Yeah, not the end of anything. So I guess that's it. I'd say get out and support your local track, but your local tracks aren't open this weekend. At least I hope not. If they are, have you heard anything about Mid-Michigan? They do that race in the winter sometimes.
Oh, I don't think they're doing it They had that one that was a slop fest, and I think that kind of soured them.
That was it. That was the one I went to.
Yeah.
All right, so no more. Oh well.
The ground had frozen, then there was a brief thaw, and
Well, the top thawed, and
yeah.
so it was just soup on top of ice. Yeah, it was fun to watch. I'm glad I didn't race that. But yeah, 2 weeks. We'll be back 7 o'clock Thursday night. That would be the 19th, I believe. July 19th. We'll be back, and then
July
weekly
19th.
to June. I'm
One of those
January
J
19th.
words. Try January.
We'll be back July 19th.
No.
Well, we'll be around that week.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometime. Probably not July. Wouldn't that be cool if July 19th was a Thursday? We'll be back January 13th. Tune in, 7 o'clock live. Until then, HammerdownRacerReport.com. Listen to us on your favorite podcasting platform. We're out. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Good
All
night.
right, folks. And again, Happy New Year.
You have been listening to the Hammer Down Racing Report, available on demand on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting platform.